He's like, I'm going to take you away from everybody because I'm tired of being known as the guy who's beating Nina.
So break down your process for breaking into Disney hotels.
On a regular night at Disney, we experience maybe 4 burglaries a month. And he's like, between November, December, going into January, it was 4 burglaries a night.
So tell us about the night that you actually get arrested.
I whooped her ass so bad. I was in confinement for 45 days.
What's the most common place to have sex in prison? Nina went from being groomed as a teenager and living on the streets to robbing Disney hotels and getting sentenced to 6 years in Florida prison. Today, she's sharing the heartbreaking story of how her life spiraled and how she's rebuilding it after prison. Nina, welcome to Locked In, a fellow prison content creator.
Yeah, here I am.
A big TikToker. I can't believe you just came across my For You page and you've been doing it, you said, for a few years.
Yeah, it's been I started in 2021 fresh out of prison.
Yeah, you came up on our page and I sent the screenshot to Matt. I was like, we got to get her on. Let's go.
Really?
Yeah, so we'll have people that pop up and that are, or people will tag me and stuff. Maybe people tag me and you, I'm not sure, but I know it came up on my For You page and I'll send it to Matty Ice and I'll be like, reach out to them. Let's get them booked.
I'm excited. It's an honor to be here. You really have done amazing things.
Thank you.
And I aspire to be you, even though I've been doing it longer. It's fine. It's cool.
Hey, consistency is everything, you know?
It definitely is.
And everything happens at the right time it's supposed to happen. And you're starting your YouTube career. We'll have that all linked in the bio of this episode too.
Thank you.
And what I've realized with social media in this space is people really can connect with the person speaking and the character. And you've been reading some of the comments of other episodes. People will either like the person or hate the person. There's no kind of in between. But when they like you, they'll follow you and ride with you.
I love that. I mean, you do put people up and give everybody an opportunity to expand the platforms they may already have. So that's the dream, honestly.
Have you ever been on a podcast?
I've been on one podcast, and it was TikTok Famous Podcast.
I saw you did that.
Meredith Willits, but that was online. So this is my very first in-person podcast. So you're the first person to see me live in the skin.
And you have a very headliney, catchy story. When Matt told me what it was, when he said the description, I looked it up. I was like, holy cow.
It's so funny because that's always the thing. And my whole time through prison, people will ask you, what are you here for? And I'm always like, oh, it's fucking Disney. And then they're like, Disney? And I'm like, yeah, Disney. And then I have to talk about it. And nobody really, the first thing people go to is you were stealing from gift shops. And it's like, no, why would I? What profit is there in a Disney keychain? You tell me.
Well, those things are expensive, but no one's buying them resale online for that price.
They want to go to Disney and get the keychain for the experience. They don't want to buy it off somebody off the street. So
yeah, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New Jersey, right side Newark. Not exactly Newark, but a small town next to it.
Is that a nice area because it was near Newark or not really?
It was a relatively nice area. I felt like it was a nice area, but when people hear where I'm from, they're like, oh, okay. So I guess it's not that great.
Well, people hear Newark and they think it's the hood or
quite literally. They're like, oh my God. And then the people that don't know how to pronounce it are like, isn't it Newark? And it's like, no, I think I know. I live there.
I thought it was Newark for a while. Another one is Greenwich is pronounced Greenwich.
Yes.
I didn't know that until a few years ago.
Reading in proper English, I see.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those towns that are spelt weird, and it's not like that at all.
And sometimes it's just the accent of the people. Like New Orleans, nobody calls it New Orleans in New Orleans. I couldn't tell you what they call it because I can't understand. I don't have the accent.
Who'd you grow up with?
I grew up with my mom. My dad left around when I was 14, so I grew up mostly with my mom.
What'd she do for work?
She was a nurse for most of my life. She wanted me to be a nurse. No, I was a criminal instead, but I still didn't want to be even a criminal or a nurse. I wanted to just be famous. So
from a young age, you wanted to be famous?
All my life.
Who did you idolize or look up to?
Selena Quintanilla was my first. I don't know if you have any idea who that is.
That's a mouthful.
She's a Spanish singer. And so my dad would show me all of her movies and stuff, and I watched her movie religiously growing up. And she's a singer. So she started singing from a very young age. And I was like, oh, I want to be famous. I'll just start singing. And the first time I opened my mouth to do so, my sister was nice enough to let me know, never do that again. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just find something else then.
How old's your sister?
She's 8 years older than me. So she's currently 35. I don't know.
It was just you and her?
No, my mom had 8 kids.
8 kids?
Yeah, I got 14 siblings.
14?
Yeah.
Between your dad and your mom?
Yeah.
Holy, so are you guys close, or were you close growing up?
Well, No, actually, that's how I got into my career criminology, was wanting to be accepted by my siblings. And like, because we were so large age gaps between us, like the closest in age was my sister who's 8 years older. Everybody else is up to 18 years older than me, is my oldest sister. So I was never allowed to hang out with them. And because I couldn't hang out with them, but I wanted to, I just kind of tried to absorb what they were doing that I couldn't do. And it was crimes. So then I just started thinking, well, if I do crimes, maybe they'll hang out with me. And that's not how that happened, because when you commit crimes, you can't tell anybody. So
So do you think you were neglected by your parents because they had so many kids?
absolutely. It was actually my diagnosis with one of my CPS cases was that my mom was neglectful to me emotionally. So she told me that, and then she was like, I don't really know what that means, so just go figure it out. And I was like, all right, thank God for Google.
Did they genuinely want a lot of kids, or were they just like accidents, or how did that?
I don't believe my mom wanted kids. I know when I was probably about 15 or 16, I asked her why she had kids so young, because she started having kids at 15. So I was like, what made you want to have kids? And she was like, I wanted to get away from your grandmother, because my grandmother was very abusive. So I kind of pieced together that I think my mom just wasn't into not having kids once she was pregnant. So she's like, well, I might as well just keep the babies. And they just kept happening. And she never stopped until I was born. And then when I was born, my oldest sister, who was 18 at the time, was like, get your tubes tied if you won't use a condom, okay? And then my mom was like, okay. My dad, I don't know. He just doesn't like condoms, or he likes children. I don't know which one, probably both.
Could they financially support the kids?
My dad is doing pretty good, but he's also in Uruguay right now. So my mom did her best. It was a pretty rough growing up for all my siblings. My mom has about 30 CPS cases over the course of the many years that she's raised children. It's been like 30, 40 years raising kids.
That's nuts.
I know.
Do you hold resentment towards your mom?
No. I have no resentment towards either of my parents, because I had no control over their lives growing up. They tried to control what they could of my life growing up, but you can't give what you never learned, you know?
I just think if you're going to have a kid, you have to support it. Like, there's a lot of guests on the show that come on. They have like 5, 6 different kids with different baby mamas, and it's just like, how, you know?
I mean, we can't really control how the world puts us out there, you know? They say man plans and God laughs. So I'm sure my parents had a better idea of what they wanted to do with their lives, but it definitely didn't work out that way.
How would people describe you as a kid?
Weird, insane, strange, violent.
Violent? Why
Yes.
violent?
I think it's because of my mental health, but I couldn't tell you, because I feel like I have a better hold on my mental health now. Still violent, though. So we're going to have to therapize that.
You'd heard a
somewhere.
bitch back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Or still now to this day?
Oh, yeah. But now there's like better reasoning. Back then it was like, I just don't like that you're breathing next to me. Now it's more like, I'm asking you kindly to leave me alone, and you're not. So
Do you remember the first time you felt that anger?
first time I felt that anger that I can remember for sure, yes. It was actually the first time that I got sent out of school for being a threat to myself and others. And it was because this kid was behind me in 4th grade. He was behind me, and he was pretending to cut my hair with scissors, and I could hear the scissors. And I was like, I kept turning around and being like, can you stop? And he was like, I'm just playing. And so he did it again, and I turned around and deadpan. I was like, if you don't stop pretending to cut my hair, I'm going to really take the scissors and put them in your eyeball. And then I turned back around. And this was 4th grade, so he told on me, because you can't just threaten children. They get scared. So then what got me suspended, though, was when I went to the principal. They asked me, reasonably expecting me to cry or something, I guess, and it didn't click up here. So when they were like, why did you do that? Do you know that you could have, like, you scared him? Why would you threaten him? And I was like, because if he couldn't see my hair, he couldn't pretend to cut it. I feel like that's logical. And then they sent me away. They were like, no, there's something wrong with this one. She can't come back until she stops thinking like that.
So did people pick on you a lot?
Yes. I was bullied until I became the bully. I was bullied for, I guess, being big and being socially awkward. I didn't really understand social cues as much growing up. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to say things that everybody was thinking. And I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to point things out. Like, the subtleties of social interaction were not good for me. I was bad at that. So I got made fun of a lot.
Did you have friends?
I had friends, mostly like the outcasts and stuff, the kids that nobody else talked to. And then we all just hung out.
Yeah, I remember growing up, like, we used to think the outcast kids are weird, and then you realize later in life that the outcasts are the cool ones.
They really are. They're always the coolest. And I think it's because they have understanding that societal norms are based on like a mass ideology, and just because you don't follow into that mass ideology does not mean you're a bad person.
Yeah, I wish I was more accepting that. Like I knew I was weird, like just because I did different things than most people, but I was not weird in the sense of dyeing my hair or hanging out with like I guess I was in theater, but I mixed into different classes and types of people.
I'll
But
say 12 years old running clubs, definitely different class.
yeah, so I was with a bunch of different people, but I wish I kind of embraced like hanging out with people that were so different that other people would make fun of those individuals. I wish I hung out with those people more.
I mean, to be fair, when you're living it, I don't think you'd wish it, but hindsight's 2020. Yeah. I wish I went to prom, but I'm sure if I went to prom, I would have been unhappy.
You never look back on it wishing that you went?
No.
Never.
No.
I mean, I didn't go
Because I
to
know
my...
what it would be. What is high school if not just you standing there thinking, fuck, everybody's looking at what's wrong with me. And then everybody is, because everybody else thinks something's wrong with them. So they're trying to find what's wrong with everybody else so that they don't feel like they're as wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to my high school graduation. Not that I didn't want to. I was banned from it.
Why?
It was a whole thing with the principal. I had to go to summer school for 2 weeks to get this half a credit, so they didn't let me walk. And that's how I actually ended up in a low-security prison, because they said I didn't graduate high school, but I did. I didn't have my certificate.
Oh, they went to give you your GED.
No, I got the actual diploma.
Oh, you got the diploma.
Yeah, but they didn't have it on like file or whatever, so they put me in a GED class in prison and put me in a low-security prison, which because they bumped your points for not technically graduating high school. The whole thing was a mess.
I wish I knew that. I dropped out, and then I got my GED in county jail, thinking like it was something to do in county jail. And then I went to prison, and I was like, oh, I could have got my GED here. It would have been so much better.
Did you experiment with drugs or alcohol in high school?
Yeah, I experimented. First time I ever smoked a cigarette was when I was like 12 years old. And then when I was 14, I started smoking weed. And then when I was 18, I did everything else. I didn't do it before 18 because of my mother. I have a deep-rooted fear for her, so I didn't want to disrespect her rules.
She was against it?
Oh, yeah, she was against cigarettes too, but she like couldn't stop that because she didn't even know where I was getting them from. So she kind of was like, stop smoking. And I was like, yeah. Anyway, so.
Why do you think you used cigarettes? Was it to kind of fit in?
Yeah, pretty much. Everybody, it was like if you could get the corner store guy to give you cigarettes, then you were cool. So I made it my point to get the corner store guy to give me cigarettes, and I had like an incline to get in there because I spoke Spanish, and if you speak Spanish, you can talk to any Spanish person, you're instantly friends. So all I had to do was speak Spanish to him, and then he gave me cigarettes, and then everybody thought it was cool.
So are you Latina?
Yes, I'm Puerto Rican and Uruguayan.
Ah, that's where the last name comes from.
Yes.
You have quite an interesting name. I can't pronounce it. I would butcher it.
I know. It's Ninoshka is a Russian name. Originally Ninoshka, but my mom, like, she wanted it to be Ninoshka because she had a friend who had a daughter. So I'm named after someone I've never met. And then my dad was like, I'm not giving my Hispanic daughter a Russian name. You're setting her up for failure. And my mom was like, I'm putting the name in there. So he was like, at least take the H out. And then she did. And then I became Ninoshka.
Well, it actually sounds easier to pronounce than Ninoshka now that you say it.
Yeah.
On paper, it's worse.
My middle name is my mom's name and my dad's name put together. My mom's name is Jane. My dad's name is Lewis. And then my last name is my dad's.
So you do have some early recollection with your dad before he left?
Yeah, we hung out a lot when I was a kid. But when I turned 14, my mom, well, all my life, my mom would threaten him with child support because he'd never paid it. And when I turned 14, he had finally had enough. And so he left like in the middle of the night one night. And I just came to his house because I was weekends with him, week with my mom. I went to his house and I walked in, my stepmom's sitting on the couch. And I didn't like my stepmom. So she's there alone. And I'm like, where's my father? And she's like, oh, come in, come in. At the time, I didn't know. She's doing that because my dad had explicitly told her, do not let my daughter's mother know that I am not home right now. Because my mom dropped me off. And she, like, my dad knows my mom. My mom would call the cops immediately. She'd have his ass arrested before he hit the airport. So she was, like, stalling for time. And I'm standing there going, where is my father? And she's like, no, come in. And I'm like, no. I'm pulling out my phone, calling my mom, like, Mom, can you, I don't know where my dad is. And she's like, you don't want to hang out with me? And I was like, no. And I just walked out. And then my mom came in the house and she looked at my stepmom and she was like, I don't give up where he is or what he's doing. You have 30 minutes to have him call her right now or I will have every officer in my hometown at that airport. And so my dad called me and he was like, hey, I'm leaving the country. And I was like, thanks for the heads up. And I was like, you could have told me that before I drove all the fuck way over to your house. And he was like, I didn't want your mom to stop me. And I was like, okay, whatever, have fun. And then he left.
Have you seen him since?
No, he won't come back. My mom told him not to, and he believes every threat she's ever made. So
Do you guys still talk at all?
yeah, we talk on like WhatsApp because that's what every Spanish person has. I don't know why. I don't know the concept of it.
Why'd you drop out of high school?
I dropped out because of my mental health issues. The whole thing about getting kicked out because I was deemed a threat, that happened every year up until junior high after 4th grade. Sometimes I'd have like a couple gap years where I wouldn't threaten people, but for the most part, I had a lot of issues. So junior year, they call me because of something I did that was a threat to someone. And then I sit down thinking it's the same run of the mill. You're just going to suspend me till a therapist says I'm okay. And he goes, so, because my high school had 3 principals, 1 principal for the freshmen, 1 principal for the sophomores and the juniors, and 1 principal for the seniors. So I'm on my sophomore junior principal, and it's because my high school's gigantic. There's like 1 million kids in there. So I'm talking to my sophomore junior principal. I'm about to be a junior, and I'm like, all right, you're going to suspend me. That's it. And he's like, actually, I've been looking at your file. You've been doing this every year since you were a child. And I was like, anyway, give me my papers. I'm leaving. And he was like, no, we need you to do more this time. Something's wrong. And I was like, what do you mean? He wanted me to leave school and come back after for another like 3 hours to talk to a school psychologist to see why I kept getting suspended. And his words were, obviously the therapists outside are doing bare minimum to approve you to bring you back. They're not actually figuring out what's wrong with you. So I said, how about this? I'll drop out and you don't have to worry about this at all. And the only reason I did that was because I was in an abusive relationship. So in my mind, leaving school, coming back and staying in school again, my boyfriend's not going to believe that. I'm going to get beat every day for trying to come to school. No way. I'll drop out. And then I did.
Did you feel misunderstood?
No. I felt ignored more than misunderstood. I think misunderstood means that you made an attempt to see where that person was coming from and you just didn't get it. More of my life felt kind of like people looked at me and were like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, and they just moved on. So I just kind of kept doing more and more so that people would look at me. And here we are now.
Do you feel like you lacked love?
No. I feel like I lacked understanding, probably. Not misunderstood in a way, but like patience. Like somebody being like, hey, are you okay? Because I don't really know what the fuck's wrong with you.
Do you think that's all it would have taken to put your life on a different trajectory?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I think if my siblings had just once hung out with me when I asked them to, I would have. But I also don't put the blame on them for that because I could have gone anywhere with that. I could have paid attention to my siblings, and in an attempt to gain their affection, I could have chosen to be a better person than them. I chose to mimic them, so I ended up doing my own thing.
How old were you when you were kicked out?
When I was kicked out of
high school, I was
16.
Where
when you're legally allowed to sign yourself out.
Where do you go?
I went to my mom's house, and then I just went to night school. But I was in the abusive relationship with my groomer, and he was 8 years older than me. So I was 16, and he was like 25. I don't know. And he told me that we were leaving because, well, no. He told me we were leaving probably a year later because he ended up moving away because his family was trying to get him away from me. But it didn't work. He drove all the way back because I tried to leave him. So then he came back, and then he took me away because by that time my whole hometown knew that he was abusive. So they were like, fuck this guy. And they just kept trying to fight him in public. And then he was like, I'm going to take you away from everybody because I'm tired of being known as the guy who's beating Nina. And I was like, just stop beating Nina. That also is an option, but didn't happen. So I moved to Florida.
How does he take you away?
He threatened my mom. He said that if I didn't go with him, that he would hurt my mom. He knew where I lived. He knew where most of my siblings lived. It was like he had been abusing me since I was 14. He met me when he was 22 and I was 14. So he had kind of systematically broken me down over the course of the next 4 years to the point where by the time he said jump, I said how high. So
when you first met him, did you actually have feelings for him?
I thought I did, for sure. I thought I was pursuing him. I was like, oh, yeah, this guy's cute. I like him. He's older. And I was seeking for somebody to take me away from my family anyway. So I was like, this is a grown man. He's going to take me exactly where I need to be in life. And I mean, technically he did because I'm here now and this is where I feel I was meant to be, but like not in a way that I would have consented to if I knew. So
What was your mom's response to this relationship when it first started?
she thought he was 17. And she actually gave him that opening because when he first came to meet her, he like clean shaved his face and everything. And he was fat. So he had like a fat baby face. And so he's standing there. He was also like 5'6". So he's small, fat, shaved face, looked like a child. So he comes in and he's like, "Hi, my name is such and such." And she's like, "How old are you? Like 17?" And he was like, "Yeah, actually." And then we walked out of that and he was like, "Phew." And I was like, "That's insane that you just got away with that like that. That was crazy." And then when we had been together for about 8 months, I came home one day crying because he ripped my shirt and he made me walk home with my shirt like ripped open. So I was like holding it because I was only 15 and I was like super embarrassed. So I'm walking down the block crying, holding my shirt up, and my mom's like, "What the fuck is that?" And so I come into her and I tell her because I don't know what else to do. And then she's like, "I'm calling the police right now." And I was so young and scared. Like I didn't want my boyfriend to go to prison. I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't understand that this was an inappropriate relationship. I didn't understand that this is a bad thing. All I understood was like, if my mom calls the police right now, my boyfriend's going to go to jail for 25 years. That's a bad thing. So I told her no. And then she slapped the fuck out of me for telling her no. And then she looked at me and she was like, "If you don't want me to send him to prison, I won't. But you're going to break up with him today. And if I find out you didn't, I'm sending his ass to prison. I'm not asking you shit." So then I was like, okay. And I left and I told him. And then he was like, "So we're just going to pretend that we broke up?" And I was like, "Yeah, obviously." And then we did. We pretended that we weren't together for the following 4 years, 3 years. I was 15.
Your mom never questioned where you were, who you were with?
No, I pretended I had other boyfriends. I would like come home from school and I'd be like, "I met this boy Frankie," or like, "I met this boy Andrew." And I would just pretend that I was going on dates with guys that didn't exist. And after a few months, I'd break up with them so that my mom didn't catch on. So
Looking back on it now, do you wish she called the cops?
absolutely. Oh my God. I wish I let her. I wish I never met that man. I wish I never even said hi to him. I wish so many things would have been different. But I also wouldn't change it if I went back because I needed a lot of that to happen for me to have a good perspective on myself today.
What were your friends saying about the relationship? Did they know it was wrong, the age difference, the red flags?
They knew it was wrong. They knew what it was. I told them. But I was known in high school as the kid who did whatever they wanted regardless. So I presented it like it was cool. I presented it like it was awesome. Like he was this older guy, but not as old as he was. I think I told them that he was 18 so that they knew it was illegal, but not like how illegal it was. And that was kind of how I worked it until people started seeing us in public when I was like 17. People started catching on because I'm getting close to 18 now. So he's getting a little bolder with being out and about with me. And so everybody was kind of like, "That's your boyfriend? He's pedophile." And I was like, "No, like, no, we're in love. He's gonna be with me forever." And they were like, "Girl, not at all. That's weird. He's weird." And he was weird.
What'd he do for work?
Nothing until I got him a job as a chef, and then nothing again because when I left him, he lost his job because he didn't know how to function as an adult. And now he's a chef again, but like for weed. Like he promotes this weed company in Arizona, and if his wife ever sees this video, she's going to be so mad because she's going to know the only reason I know that is because he messaged me when I got out of prison. Sorry, Luce. But yeah.
Do you guys still talk at all?
No, I contacted him. No, actually, he contacted me and I called him because I posted on Twitter about it when I first got home. I like talked about it on Twitter, like what I went through and how I felt. And specifically what I did was I went on a Twitter that he made when I left him, and he just kept posting like these depressing tweets about me. So I came back and I reposted them and I told people what actually happened, like while he was posting this depressing tweet. So it'd be like something like a picture of me sleeping, and he'd be like, "She's so beautiful when she sleeps." And like I reposted it and I was like, little do you know, he literally did some terrible things to me right before this photo was taken. Isn't that so funny? His sister saw it. She told him. He reached out to me. I called him. He cried on the phone about how he's not a man and he did terrible things to me. And Thank you so much for not sending me to prison for that. I became a better person because of it. Not true. Actually a lie. He's still the same person. We stopped speaking shortly after that because he looked at me and messaged me one night and was like, you have a great face for porn still. The only porn I ever made for him in the past was underaged porn. So that was the comment he made to an adult Nina, and I just stopped messaging him.
So you go to Florida with him, or he brings you to Florida. What happens when you get there?
We move in with his father, and at first it seemed okay, but he was so abusive that he kind of like would argue with me a lot, and then he would make it seem like I was the one arguing with him. He had this narrative that I was a psychopath, that I would just get mad for no reason, and it was really just him dog whistling me until I snapped. And then when we needed to get a job, he couldn't find a job, so he sold me to a pimp. And then I did that for 3 days. And then I quit because something crazy happened. And I was like, I don't like this job, actually. It's the worst. So I stopped. I went back. And that night, he argued with me. And then he argued with me for like the following 3 days. And on the third day, there was light. I'm kidding. He threw a frying pan. And it hit a statue. And it was like this $5,000 statue. And so his dad was like, who broke this statue? And he was like, she broke it. And then he was like, kick her out. And he ended up saying he wasn't going to let me be homeless. So then we became homeless together. And then that was like when I met my co-defendant and we were living out in the streets. And then we got a house together when he tried to like kidnap me away from everybody again. Because again, people caught on that he was abusive. So he tried to like take me to a far away part of Kissimmee where nobody would know where I was. And he succeeded for a while. I was trapped in the house. And then I got away. And then I got away, and I was with my co-defendant, and then I went to prison.
Wait a minute. So his dad was okay with his son, a grown man, living with a teenager, or did he not know at the time? Or?
He knew I was 18. He knew that.
But he must have known that you were younger before, and you just turned 18.
He didn't say anything about it. He just kind of let it be. So for a while, we told them that I was older than I was. So when I moved in, I was technically supposed to be like 21 or 22. So we tried to keep that facade up for a little bit until I think we went to like a bar or something. Obviously, I'm not 21. I don't have an ID. So dad suggests a bar, suggests us we get drinks. And like my ex was like, fucking, she can't do it. He's like, she can't do it. She's a child. And then that's when dad was like, interesting how she's 18 and you guys have been together for 4 years. And he didn't say anything about it, so.
So at this point, when you guys get kicked out of the house, do you start using more drugs?
At that time, I only smoked weed. He had introduced me to cocaine, but he didn't actually let me do any. He would just do it and basically just make me watch him. I don't know why, but. And then when I left him was when I got into all the other substances, and it was of my own. I just kept telling people that I did the stuff. And then when they would hand it to me, I'd be like, so how do you do this? Because I lied. And then I got addicted to a bunch of stuff.
And this pimp, how does he even present this idea to you?
Well, he had already been posting me online. He had already been taking videos of me when I was underage. He got me into the sex work business because he started like passing me to his friends for weed and stuff. And then as I got older, it turned into like, we're going to use your body for actual things. So by the time we moved to Florida, it was less of a, this is what we're going to do. I'm presenting it to you for the first time, and more of like a, well, you already did this independently with me. It's like me again, but it's this guy, and this guy has more experience. He's been doing this for years. And like I said, I worked with him for 3 days. He was a big guy named Houston, and I was like, you're terrible at this job, because I made barely any money. I made way more money on my own, and he was taking 60% of my profits without giving me anything but a driver. I was like, there's a little bit more that goes into this, dog. I need condoms, I need protection, I need plan B, and you're doing none of that. And you're taking $60 out of every 100. And then he's like, that's the price of a pimp. And I was like, that's fine. I'll just leave. I'll just go do it on my own. It's fine. And I did until I didn't anymore.
So you guys leave, you're homeless, and you meet your future co-defendant. Who is this guy? How old is he? What's his deal?
His name is Smokey. He's 25 years old. I met him at that time because my ex wanted to swap couples with his girlfriend.
Jeez Louise, what a mess this is.
So
between the names and the sex.
I know it's quite the time. So I'm sitting there, and it's me and my ex, Smokey, and his ex, and we're doing this conversation of like, are we going to swap couples? And Smokey makes this like super rude comment to his girlfriend, and I just look at him and I'm like, wow, you're an asshole. And he's like, my name's Smokey, nice to meet you. And like I laughed because it was funny, but because I laughed, my ex was like, oh, so you like him, so we're not swapping couples then. And I never saw him again until sometime in the midst of me and my ex fighting. My co-defendant was sitting in the lobby one day, and I had come down and I was crying. No, he was sitting outside. I had got kicked out of the room, and I like crawled, because he actually physically kicked me in my back to get me out of the room, so I crawled to the stairs, and I'm crying. And like there's these kids, like these children, and they come up and they're like, why are you crying? And I was like, nothing, just go away, because in my mind I'm thinking, if my ex comes out and sees me talking to guys, I'm going to get beat again for speaking to men. So I was like, nothing, just go away, just go away. And they were like, no, what's wrong? And I was like, nothing. And I'm like trying to sound psychotic, because I'd rather these strange men walk away and say like, she's a bitch, over my ex seeing me talking to them and beat me for no reason, because I just got beat. I'm trying to ease up on that. So they are all talking about this guy, Smokey. And I didn't know who he was because it had been months. I forgot his name. And they're like, nah, we got to get Smokey. We got to get Smokey. And I'm like, who the fuck is Smokey? No, like, don't bring more men. Everyone leave. The men group keeps growing because more keep coming. And they're all standing there watching me cry. And they're feeling bad for me. And then Smokey comes up and he's like, come smoke with us. And I was like, no. I'm in danger. You guys are fucking me up right now. And he's like, you're that girl that goes with that pedophile, right? And I was like, okay, yes, but no. And they're like, he's like 100 years older than you. He's a fucking pedophile. And then I was like, no, he's not. He's just my boyfriend. And then they're like, come smoke with us. We're not moving. Smokey, he's like, I'm not moving until she comes to smoke with us. This crowd of people is like, well, we're not moving if Smokey's not moving. And I'm like, and who the fuck is Smokey? And who's Smokey in all of this? So I go downstairs, I smoke with them. My ex comes out, sees me talking to a bunch of men, and just starts screaming at me. So then that night, Smokey was like, I'm about to beat the shit out of him. Like, I don't like the way he talks to you. I don't like what he's doing. And I was like, no. I don't even know you. And you're about to fight my boyfriend. You're a stranger. Just stop. So I went upstairs. I started seeing Smokey after that every time my ex would beat me. Like, he'd beat me, he'd kick me out, I'd go find Smokey. Because Smokey was like the only person who wasn't being sexually weird towards me. So I'd always find him. He'd be like, do you want to smoke? I'd be like, yeah, I want to smoke. We'd smoke, and then when I was done smoking with him, I'd leave. And he never asked anything of me, and everything was fine. And then when I finally left my ex, I was homeless, and I slept on the sidewalk with Smokey. And then we became like best friends until we started dating, and then he introduced me to Disney.
How does the Disney thing come about?
It came about one day by accident because he had already been telling me that he does hotel stuff. Like, he had already been doing hotel stuff. Sometimes he'd leave, he'd come back with suitcases, and I wouldn't ask questions because I have no questions to ask. It's none of my business. And then one day I was finally like, what the fuck is all this? Like, what is this that you're doing? Because he pulls out a suitcase with baby clothes, filled with baby girl clothes. And he's pissed. And I'm like, and what is this? Like, where do you even get this? So then he says Disney. And I'm like, okay, I don't even want to know. Like, I want nothing to do with Disney. I don't want to know what's going on. Because at the time I was still selling myself. So I'm a prostitute. He's whatever he is. One day I got way too curious and I was just like, tell me everything. I want to know. And he's like, you really want to know? And I was like, no, I really want to know. Like, what is this Disney thing? How are you doing this? You keep coming home, suitcases, iPads, cell phones, purses. Tell me what's happening. And he takes me. He's like, come with me. We'll go. I get on the bus. I go. I get on a train. It takes me to a fucking hotel. And the whole time I'm like, how are we getting on this property without any wristbands? Nobody's checking us. Nobody's asking us. And he's like, it's Disney, man. They love you here. They trust you here. It's a place where people come to be good. Nobody's expecting us to do bad. So I was like, okay, fuck. And we just did it. We just kept going. And he just kept doing it. And it just kept expanding to the point where Disney contacted Orlando Police Department. And they were like, hey, we got a lot of burglaries. can you bring a sting operation? Because we don't know what the fuck's going on. And they were like, yeah, sure. And then they did it. They stayed on Disney property for a full week. And because Smokey had people on property who would like watch out for stuff like that, they called him. They're like, hey, there's some undercovers on Disney property. A whole week we didn't go. And then one night we got into an argument over some crack. And I got mad. And I was like, I'm not giving you any money. Because I was still the like main earner. He did Disney stuff. He brought Disney money in. But I was still the main earner with my prostitution. So he's sitting there one day and we're getting into an argument over $20 because he got a crack rock from a drug dealer for free. And I'm like, who's sucking dick for it? You? Because I'm not. That's $20. You didn't give me none of it. You just got it without my permission. I told you not to specifically, explicitly no. And you still did it. So get your heels on and go. And he got so mad at me. He was like, you're really not going to give me any of your money? And I was like, I'm really not. I don't know how to help you. I hope that dub was worth it. And then he's like, I'm going to Disney. And nobody would go with him. So I was like, well, you can't go alone because you'll get arrested. So I went with him because nobody else would. And then I ended up getting arrested. And I never got my money that night because the person I was supposed to see did get to see me because I was in jail.
So break down your process for breaking into Disney hotels.
We would go and he wanted one person as a lookout and one person to actually go in the room, which is why there always had to be 2 people. So we'd go to the Saratoga Springs Resorts because it's the first hotel connected to downtown Disney in Orlando. So we'd take a bus all the way to downtown Disney and like we'd walk through downtown Disney to this bridge thing that takes us to Saratoga. And then he would have us walk and he taught me how to like look around for people because we were never targeting just rooms. He would look at rooms because he was good at determining when the rooms were open, which, hey, don't know how he did that because I could never fucking tell. He'd walk up to a room and he'd just be like, right here, click. So he'd have me look for people though, because the people is what you don't realize. Like when you go to a Disney hotel, when you go on vacation in general, sometimes like you need ice or you want to go to the vending machine or you need a towel, toilet paper, something. You're going to leave and some people don't close the door. They don't take the key. They leave the deadbolt open or they leave the door cracked. They do something. And then Smokey goes in. And like that's what he trained me to look for. He was like, look for people who look like they're about to go do something real quick. Look for people who don't pull the door closed when they walk away. Look for people who look like they have the ice bucket in their hand. Try to figure out which room they came out of, stuff like that.
What was the biggest haul? And what was the most common item?
The biggest haul was the night we got arrested, unfortunately, because we had 7 iPads, 2 iPhones, a laptop, a Canon camera. I think I had like a purse. There was so much stuff that night. And I was like, and I didn't even know that it was actually because he knew we were going to get caught. I think he just like threw caution to the wind and picked everything up in the room that he could put his hands on because we had so much stuff. And then we got arrested.
Did you find that most people don't even use the room safe?
Yeah, actually. I didn't even know that most rooms had a safe. No, there's never... I mean, I'm sure Smokey looked for a safe, but anything he ever picked up, he would just pick it up. Like, he'd walk in the room and then he'd just hold it, and it would be his. And he knew... His rule was, anything I touch has my fingerprints on it, so it's mine now. So only touch the things that my fingerprints can be on. And so he'd do like... He told me one day because I went into a room behind him thinking like, I just wanted to experience it. I don't know. We were in a cul-de-sac. I didn't think anybody was going to see us. So I walked in behind him and I didn't know how he did it. So he's walking through and I'm like going behind him, just picking up stuff that I think he's missing. And then he walks back around and I watch him like look at all the spots and he's like, and then he looks up and he sees me and he's like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, sorry. And I'm like holding everything. So I walk out and then he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I was trying to help you. And he was like, you have no idea how I do this. Don't ever fucking do that again. And I was like, okay, I'll never do it again. And then I didn't, but he walks into the room and he does like a walkthrough and he looks at what he can see to grab. And then as he's walking out, he just picks it all up and walks out.
Is this a nice hotel?
Disney hotels? Yeah.
The ones you were hitting?
Yeah. All Disney hotels are nice.
And do you ever hit the same hotel twice?
Yes, that's how we got caught. We hit the hotels so many times that in court, when we were talking about it, they asked the guy, like the officer, they were like, so what promoted you even going to Disney in the first place? Like, what made you think this was such a high volume of crimes? And the officer, I can quote him as saying, on a regular night at Disney, we experience maybe 4 burglaries a month. And he's like, between November, December, going into January, it was 4 burglaries a night. So it like 100 times what it was.
How many burglaries do you feel like you were responsible for out of those numbers?
Me personally, out of those numbers, I probably went to 5 or 6.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, I went to like 5, 6. Maybe max, I would say 10 if I'm thinking of times where like I just went to just say I was at Disney that night because it's exciting, I guess. I don't know, the adrenaline that comes from committing a crime isn't really about committing the crime. I think for me it was getting away with it. That was like, oh shit, we just did that. So watching Smokey commit the crime was like my vicarious, I want to be a part of this. I want to be able to say I know what happens at Disney. And so I would go. But for the most part I did stay in the hotel room because I was the one that was selling my body and I was the only girl of the group. So they were like, we'll have one guy stay at the hotel room with Nina. They'll protect Nina with the Johns and stuff, and then 2 or 3 guys will go to Disney. So,
did you ever feel bad about, say you're taking an electronic that could be for a kid?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I stole a kid's iPad, and I felt so bad. I felt so bad. One of the nights that we were there, I don't remember what, I think it was Saratoga, and Smokey hands me this iPad, and the first thing I notice is it looks like a school iPad because it's got this big, bulky blue border that, like, the kids' grippers. So I was like, oh, this looks like a child's iPad. So then I click it open. It's got no lock on it, and it's only got Super Y and, like, ABC stuff, like YouTube Kids. So I was like, oh, fuck. And Smokey's like, what? I was like, this is a child's iPad. And he was like, so? And I was like, she's going to have a horrible time now because her kid's going to be so upset that he doesn't have his iPad. And Smokey, like, he'd justify it and be like, they have so much money to go to Disney. They have money to get a new iPad. And that's not the point, though. Like, that's not the point of it all. The point for me was I just took this kid's iPad. And now someone's mom has to explain to their child their personal iPad is gone. And yeah, you probably buy him another one, but fuck, the kid's going to cry all of his trip at Disney now. So.
Why do you think you felt bad and he didn't?
Probably because Smokey's been a criminal since he was a child. His mom passed away when he was 16, and he started, like, acting out from there forward. And he has, like, the longest criminal record. His criminal record's so long. He's back in prison now. His criminal record is so long that they wanted me to testify against him so that, like, I could just get off as easily as possible, and he could get the max time, which would have been life. So.
I'm guessing you didn't do that.
No, absolutely not. That was so fucked up. That would be horrible. That would be the worst thing to do to somebody.
So tell us about the night that you actually get arrested at Disney.
I knew I was going to jail immediately. I didn't know why, but I knew, like, I could feel it in my heart I was going to jail. And through my discovery, I found out that Smokey knew we were going to jail too because he fucked up, but he didn't tell me till the end. So we go to Disney and we had an argument. That was how it started. The whole bus ride to Disney, we're barely speaking because I'm pissed. When we got to Disney, I think we're going to go to Saratoga like normal. And he stops me and he's like, we're going to get on this boat. Why are we getting on a boat? Let's just get on the boat. So, okay, whatever. We're arguing, so I don't care. We get on the boat and we go. And it's not until we get off the boat, he has us cross a field. And now we're in the middle of a golf course. It's nighttime. What the fuck are we doing here? And I'm immediately like, Smokey, what are we doing here? And he's like, I want to go to a new hotel. When were you going to tell me that? Because what are we doing here? We're in a golf course. We're about to go steal. And all I could think is it just takes one golf cart, one security guard with a flashlight. There's no excuse for why we're on a fucking golf course in the middle of a night. We are not Disney people. There's no midnight golf plays. What are we doing? What's the excuse? What's the play here? He's like, just keep moving. There's a lake. I can hear gators. I'm terrified. It's the middle of the night and I'm running in the grass. We get to these 3 rooms and there's no doors open. There's one front door, one back door. It's just a house. This is way out of protocol for what I was used to. So I'm like, what are you doing? What are we doing here? Like, are you about to break into these rooms? And he's like, I've always wanted to try these. I've never tried them before, and I heard they're really hard to break into. So I was like, this is the dumbest thing you've ever said. Like, this is the dumbest thing you've ever said to me. What are you talking about? And he was like, well, there's police at Saratoga because there was the sting operation. So he's like, well, there's police at Saratoga, so I want to try this front. Try any other one, maybe. Try another one that we know. There's so many Disney hotels. We've gone to so many Disney hotels. Why would you pick one you've never been to? Why? And then he left that first room in a hurry, did the other 2 rooms in a hurry, and we started booking it back home. I was just thinking it was because he was anxious, because he'd never done it before. I found out in my discovery that that first hotel room, he locked the door so that he could steal. But he didn't check to see if the people were gone before he locked the door. So they immediately tried to come back into the room. And instead of just leaving the fucking room, he still stole the shit and then came out and just had me run. And like he just didn't tell me until after the 3rd room was when he was like, I got to tell you something. And I was like, what? And like, we're running. So he's like, I got to tell you something. And I'm like, what? And then he's like, I think I forgot to unlock the door in the first room. And this is the first time I'm hearing of it. So I'm like, what do you mean you need to unlock the door? What are you talking about? And he's like, I lock the doors so that if somebody tries to come in when I'm stealing, I hear them and I have time to get out. When were you going to tell me this? Like, there were so many parts that he never explained to me. So I was like, well, that was terrible. Why didn't you unlock the door? And I just couldn't stop. Like, why didn't you unlock the door? Why didn't you unlock what would possess you to steal and then just leave? If you've done this a million times, why didn't you do it this one time? And then he admits, oh, because I thought somebody was trying to get in the room. Were you going to tell me that? Or were you just going to let me fucking not know? So now I'm terrified because now I know the probability that the police are following us is so great. I already had a gut feeling we were going to go to jail. And he's telling me this while we're running through the fucking golf course again. So I'm just like, oh, someone's coming with a golf cart. There's going to be a flashlight. I'm going to die. And then we get to, like, they lost us. In my discovery, it says they lost us right as we got to this one section with the treetop hotels, which is like their elevated hotel rooms. And I wanted to go over there because we'd never been there before. And something was telling me to hide. Like, I swear, I look back on it, it makes me so angry because I'm like, why didn't you just listen to your gut, Nina? You should have just left his ass, because I was like, we should go over there. And his thought was that I was saying we should steal over there. So he's like, nah, we'd have to commit a breaking and entering to get into those rooms. Like, the doors are weighted, so they shut really heavy. And I was like, not to steal. This is not for stealing. I want to get it. I want to go. I want to hide. I want to do something. You just said the cops might be coming. And then he's like, we'll be fine. We're going to leave. We're almost to downtown Disney. We had to cross all of Saratoga to get to downtown Disney. We make it all the way to, like, literally the front gate of downtown Disney. And a cop comes out of fucking nowhere. And he's gigantic and terrifying. And I'm thinking I have to run now. And he looks at me. He's got his hands out like this. And he looks at me and he's like, oh, yeah, run. I want you to. And I was like, I'll just sit, actually, if that's okay. And then I did. And then they were like, we've been looking for you for a long time. And I was like, I doubt that. You didn't even know what I looked like until now. So I was the worst person, though, getting arrested because I was 19 and I didn't care. It was my first time ever going to jail, so I didn't take it seriously at all.
What were the final charges they arrested you on?
Burglary and grand theft, 7 counts initially, and then 13 counts, and then they dropped it back down to 7. So I have 6 burglaries of unoccupied 6 burglaries of unoccupied dwellings and 1 burglary of an occupied. So one room had 1 person in it.
And did you bail out, or you were stuck there?
I was stuck in jail. My bond was $40,000, and I didn't have anybody that would put up $4,000 for me. So,
did you try calling your mom or your dad at all, or?
No, I called my oldest sister, and she told my family that I was locked up. But I already knew nobody was going to bond me out. I already knew I was going to be left there. That's kind of like my family's MO: is if you get arrested, it's your problem. So.
And did you know what was going on with Smokey at the time?
We got arrested together, so I knew nobody was going to do anything because I was the only person that was supporting him financially. So if I couldn't get bonded out, he couldn't get bonded out.
But he was in a separate jail because he was a guy, so you had no communication or anything?
No, we were in the same jail, just different buildings. Orange County Corrections in Orlando, Florida. They have a males building and a females building, and the males do the chow. So I was actually getting letters from him through the chow line.
Oh, so you guys got to communicate. So did you guys formulate like a plan together?
No, we tried to. We tried to formulate initially. The plan was going to be, I sent a message to him and I was like, snitch on me. And he was like, no, you snitch on me. And I was like, no, I have no criminal record. Just put it all on me. It's fine. And he was like, absolutely not. And I'm going to be honest, hindsight is 2020. I'm almost positive he didn't want me to go to prison because he knew that if I got out, I would support him his entire stay. So he was looking less to protect me and looking more to secure his meals. And I know that. So I was like, no, snitch on me. And he was like, no, because you can help take care of me. Like, he dead ass told me, like, you can help take care of us better from the outside than from the inside. And I'm not going to lie. I didn't feel like doing that because that involved me sucking more dick and I didn't want to do that. So I just stayed in jail. I was like, nope, it's fine. We can just not bond out. I don't care. I don't have nowhere to be. And then our public defenders, I tried to get them to talk to each other to tell him, like, it would be easier to just put it on me if you want to. But if you're not going to put it on me, I'm not going to put it on you. So we're both just going to go. He was like, okay, that's fine. Well, we'll just do that then. And my public defender was like, are you sure you don't want to try to pin it on him? I'm sure we could make him the mastermind of this. And I was like, go have a conversation with him. He's a fucking idiot. There's no masterminding anything. And he did. He talked to him and he came back and he was like, I believe the phrase you used was, your co-defendant is dumb as a bag of rocks. And I was like, yes. And he's like, I agree. And I was like, thank you. He is. I still don't know how he managed to cooperate and create this whole Disney thing. But I give a lot of credit to his ex because she's who taught him about Disney. So I think she gave him the whole outline and he just repeated it.
How long does the legal process play out for you?
It took a year to get sentenced. And then I got sentenced to 6 years in prison, followed by 14 years of a probationary period so that I could pay off Disney. And that only happened after I got a paid attorney because before that they wanted to give me 90 years. So I was facing life for all of, I want to say like a month. And then I was like, no more of this. I'd like to go home. So they got 90 down to 20. And then because I was under 21 when I got sentenced, they split it, gave me a modified youthful offender sentence because Disney, like, it's insane to be able to say this, but Disney paid in court, I'll say allegedly so I don't get sued. Disney allegedly had the court people stand up and say that they would like me to be denied a downward departure and they would like me to be denied youthful offender sentencing and they would like me to be denied gain time, which for people who don't know is just the time you get back for your sentence so you can go home on your early date. Disney wanted me to be denied all of that. And my attorney had to say in court, like, absolutely not. She's fucking 19 years old. This is her first arrest. Just because it was against Disney doesn't mean that we're going to absolutely ruin her life. And so we got it down to 20, and then we split it.
So you're still on supervised release to this day?
I am still on supervised release until I finish paying off what's left of my co-defendant's debt now. Because since I got home, I started paying so that I could pay it off so that I could be done. Because my only stipulation, that's why it's not technically probation. Like, I don't have, like, a real probation officer. I don't have real probation. I don't do, what do they do, that whole, like, helping the people thing? Community service? I don't do community service. I don't do, like, drug tests or anything. I just have to pay them back. I have to make my payments and I have to not reoffend.
How much was the dollar amount that they said you owed Disney?
I owed Disney $11,000 in the beginning. When my co-defendant went back to prison, I called them to see like what my final debt was. And they said because he went back to prison, I had to pay his debt as well as mine. So it got up to $9,000. And then I got it down to today. It is, I think, $6,400 or $6,000. I don't remember. I think $6,400 though.
What do you mean when he went back to prison?
So he got out I got out 2021. He got out 2022. Last year, he went back to prison for domestic abuse against his girlfriend. And then he told his pay pig, which is who told me that he went to prison. He has a girl who's like in love with him. So every time he goes to prison, she like messages him and stuff because he calls her and he's like, I love you again. And she believes him for some reason. So she sends him money and then she messages me, which I don't know why. I don't know why you're giving me updates on his life, but thank you, because now I know that he told her his plan was to try to get the judge to sentence him to just prison with no probationary period, since it's technically not probation. He's hoping to go in front of the judge and be like, I'm really bad at this. Please just send me to prison. And he's hoping that nobody will notice that he's got mad debt to pay because I have to pay it if he doesn't.
So you take this plea deal for the 20 years and it gets split and you get sentenced. Where do they send you at that point?
Lowell Correctional Main Unit, and I was in Victor Dorm because I was a youthful offender. It's a military-based program for children who get sentenced to prison under 21 years of age. And you stay there till you're 25 unless you break a lot of rules. And then you get to talk to the captain, and she tells you you're manipulative and a bad person, and she's going to send you to general population to be eaten alive. And that's what happened to me. But I stayed in the program for a year and a half, and then I got kicked out.
Why'd you get kicked out?
Because this girl stole a lotion that I stole from an officer. There's a Free World Victoria's Secret lotion. It smelled like sex. It was so good. And I hadn't smelled good lotion in literally 3 years by that time. No, I'm kidding. It was like I was locked up for a year, so it was probably going on 2 years by that time. And so I wanted it. I had it. She stole it from me. I gave her a day. I was like, you got 24 hours to give me my shit back. And if I find out who you are, because they took it out of my locker. So I literally had no idea who stole it. It was in her girlfriend's locker. So I went into her girlfriend's locker and I was like, what is that? And she was like, it's lotion my girlfriend gave me. And I was like, oh, is it? It's mine. Give me everything. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, you can give me everything out of your locker, or you can give me your girlfriend's locker combination and I can take everything out of hers. And she was like, she's going to break up with me. And I was like, I won't tell her you gave me the combination. Sorry, I'm telling her now. I won't tell her you gave me the combination. And then she was like, okay, she wrote it down for me. I went into her locker. I stole all her stuff, but the reason I got kicked out was because while I was stealing all her stuff on camera, there was people behind me watching me. So I gave them envelopes and stamps as payment. And I was like, you didn't see me. And it was out of her locker, so it's not like I paid them for real. I just paid them with my stolen goods. So I was like, here, you didn't see me. And they were like, we didn't see you. And then this other girl was walking by, and she was like, what are you doing, Nina? That's not your locker. And I was like, it's not. It's some bitches. You want something? And she was like, sure, I'll take the soap bar. And then my girlfriend stole something, and then my best friend stole something. So we all got sent to jail at the same time. And because it was all of us, but I was the one that opened the locker, they were like, you're the ringleader. You masterminded this. You manipulated the system. You don't respect the program. You're getting kicked out. You're getting sent to GP. And like she looked at me and she was like, I'm sending you to GP so that they can eat you alive out there. And I was like, okay. And then I did great in GP. They loved me. So I don't know what the fuck she was talking about.
So what was general population in prison like for you?
High school, college with more fighting. Girls in female prisons are obsessed with girlfriends and status. So all I really had to do was have a girlfriend and have a status, and I had both. So it's pretty easy.
How do you get status?
You fight, or you have money, or you have a talent. So you can be a tattoo artist, you can be a good fighter, you can be attractive, or that's it. You can have a lot of money, like you can buy drugs on the compound, or you can buy whatever you want on the compound. That gives you a pretty good status.
But you didn't have money.
No, I didn't have money. I knew how to tattoo and I knew how to fight, and that's what I had. I knew how to tattoo, I knew how to fight, and I did a lot of stuff with a lot of girls.
What was that first fight that got you status?
The fight that got me status was my fight with this girl who had life. Her name was Maria. I'm not sorry about putting her name out there because she actually sucks. I fought her because she got mad at me for trying to warn her that the girl that we were both sleeping with had hepatitis A. Excuse me for caring. I just want to be a girl's girl. She got mad at me because when she confronted her girlfriend about it, which I only found out because I was getting tested so I could sleep with somebody else. So I got tested. I'm not even fucking your girlfriend anymore. We should be good. I just came to you and I was like, Maria, I just want you to know I just got tested, got my paperwork back. I got Hep A. The nurses say that it cures itself, so I think we're fine. But you should get tested too. And she was like, okay. And she goes to the girl and she's like, do you have hepatitis A? Because Nina said she got Hep A from you. And the girl was like, she's a fucking liar. So then she starts dragging my name through the whole compound, saying that I'm disgusting, dirty, that I got it from somebody else. And I was just trying to put it on her girlfriend. And I was ignoring it until my girlfriend became her bunkie. And she wasn't even my girlfriend. She was just a girl that I was using for protection, like to hide from the fact that my actual girlfriend was cheating on her girlfriend with me. It's like not a love triangle, but a love hexagon. So she was harassing this girlfriend. And so now I'm like, fuck, I have to fight this girl, because if I don't fight her, then it's going to look like I don't care about the girlfriend that I don't care about. And then people are going to figure out that I'm using that girl to hide from that girl. So I had to fight that girl. And I whooped her ass, and I didn't even know I did. I like whooped her ass so bad. I was in confinement for 45 days. And every day of those 45 days, I had officers and inmates coming up to my cell, and they were like, Nina, why did you do that to her? And I was like, what did I do? What did I do? The officers, when we got arrested, because they separate you, they would go to her cell, and then they'd come to my cell, and they'd look at my face. And they'd go, that's all she did to you? I'd be like, can you tell me what I did to her? Can you reciprocate? What does she look like? Because everyone keeps telling me I did something bad. I didn't find out till about 8 months later when I met my prison aunt, Tori. And I met her through another girlfriend. And they were like, oh, this is my girlfriend, Nina. And she was like, you're Nina? And I was like, I am. You okay? And she was like, bro, I was bunkies with Maria in confinement. And I was like, bro, how did she look? Nobody's told me. I have no idea. And she was like, I thought you were 6'3". And I was like, really? She's like, bro, the whole left side of her face was bruised and bloody. And it was because she claims it was because she was high. So she's like, I didn't fight you back. But she did fight me back. So I believe that she was high because she didn't remember fighting me back. And then fucked her up, I guess. I don't know. I never got to see it.
No, I've heard about prison moms, but prison aunt is new to me. What's that?
So prison family, like, do you guys even have prison family? I don't know. I feel
No,
like the
you
men's
kind of have like
prisons-
OGs, like a guy you look up to, like a mentor.
Yeah, I see. Men are really hard at like emotions, so I get that.
And it's also got to be pretty boring to be a man in prison compared to a girl. Like you're casually saying, oh, we're fucking all the time. We're doing this, we're doing that.
I mean, yeah.
Men don't do that.
They do.
Well, they do, but they're not open like that.
They can't be. But that's because you guys put these restrictions on each other. You should really be tits out. But it's the fact that...
All right, so prison family.
Yeah. She had... So how it works in the female facilities is you kind of just base it off of your connection with somebody. So you talk to somebody, you get to know them. If you like them, you can be like, well, I kind of look at you as like my mom. Will you be my prison mom? I'd be like, yeah, sure. And some people have multiple, and it's so funny because you will hear people say like, I can't be your prison mom because my prison daughter won't let me have any other prison kids. And it's like, this is a fucking weird ass conversation that we're having right now. Nobody's actually related. Why can't you have more than one prison kid? I personally had a bunch, couldn't name them all, but I know some of them have passed. So RIP to them.
So sex in prison, it's just a free for all? Like it's just casual? Like how does this work?
Oh yeah, it's casual in the sense that we know it's happening, so we're all good. But it's not a free for all, meaning everybody's not smashing everybody. You pick your girlfriend and then you keep your girlfriend. Do they cheat on you? Yes, cheating is very common in prison, but it's also, I guess, more like we know that the girlfriends are going to do it, so we're less angry about it. You will get some older women who, if they find out, they will snitch on you, like they hate it. But it's because it's happening in the open. We do it in the bathroom, in a shower stall, or on a toilet. So, like, you're going to go wash your hands and boom, someone's face is in puss and you have to see that before breakfast. It's kind of rude.
What's the most common place to have sex in prison?
In the shower. The best place is in the closet, but the most common place is in the shower.
Now, are the grannies getting laid?
Unfortunately. I'm not watching it, but it's happening.
With younger women or with older women?
Both, actually. Age gap relationships are not a big deal in prison, and that was one of the, not a culture shock, because I don't think it's a culture shock for age gap relationships, but I think it was more like the deprogramming of my own mind, because being groomed, and then I was 14 with a 22-year-old, and then I was 18 with a 25-year-old, and then I was in prison where you literally have people dating in so many different age gap ways because everybody's in prison. So everybody has the same, like in the real world, you can look at a 25-year-old and you can say, well, what are you doing that matches an 18-year-old's life right now? You know, like 18, you're just out of high school. You don't really know what you're doing with your life yet. 25, you're a little bit more than that, you know? So in prison, they don't do that because in prison, everybody's just going through prison. 18, 19, 20, 21, 37, 46, it doesn't matter. You're in prison and you're experiencing the same life. So mentally, I guess they just think you're in the same place, which I don't know.
Wasn't prison a little bit of a better situation for you than your life before you got arrested?
Yes and no. I think it was relatively the same. I actually said a couple times in prison that it's comparable to Newark. Like, it's almost just like Newark. So it kind of didn't feel very crazy. Like, some things I would see women be like, how can we do that? And it's like, girl, because it's prison. This is just what happens here. It's how life is.
No, I've seen like some of these TikToks about women, how they make the, what is it called? It's not a fupa. It's like the sex toy that, what are they called in prison?
It's still a strap.
But yeah, what's the prison name for it?
It's a strap.
It's called a strap?
Yeah.
No, I think I've seen some other terminology for it.
I don't know the terminology other than a strap.
And how do they make those in prison?
Toothbrushes, pads, and saran wrap. If you can't find saran wrap, you use like a glove, but the gloves break, and they're also made with like powder, and that's not good for your pH. So you just use saran wrap from the kitchen.
And how does this get assembled? What do they do?
You take the toothbrushes, you put them like bristles on the outside and then the stick part on the inside, because the bristles will hurt also if they hit you, but I guess it's a little bit less bad. You take the pads and you'll like put the pads on top of the toothbrush and just keep wrapping around for the circumference that you're looking for. You wet the pads for the softness and then you wrap it in saran wrap so that you don't get pad beads all in you. But I've seen some insane things that women use. Obviously, the jokes about like taking cucumbers and stuff from the kitchen, it doesn't happen as much as you think because unfortunately everything gets pre-chopped before we get it. So bananas are probably the only thing you could put in you, and nobody's doing that.
Yeah, I would hope not.
No one's doing that. I've seen girls get in trouble for putting hairbrushes in them though, which I think that's painful because the hairbrush is square on the bottom. So I don't know how they rounded that out.
Now, are straight women hooking up with other women?
Absolutely.
So it's like men prison where, the gay for the stay type of thing?
Absolutely. It's quite literally done exactly the same too, because I would imagine the DL guys in prison are not talking about it. They just kind of have somebody they're with. And that's the same thing with the DL girls in prison. The ones that are going home to their baby daddies, they have a girlfriend that looks like a boy, and they only talk to her when they want to have sex with her. They don't really do a lot. It's for the status. It's for the not having somebody for so long, I guess, will drive you crazy.
So when a person gets to the end of their sentence, do they cut it off and say, hey, I'm going home in a couple months?
No, they cut it off like after they go home.
So they keep it to the door.
Mm-hmm, they pretend they're going to be together all the way. I've had girls like me with my partner that I was with. When I left prison, 3 days later, I found out that I was cheated on, and I just had to stop taking calls because that's all it is. But that's why women are kind of conniving in that way. We will wait till the last minute to leave because it's easier.
Tell us about the tattooing in prison. You said that was your hustle. That's how you were making money.
I started doing it because I couldn't afford tattoos, and it's not like tattoo guns. We hear in female prisons, we hear that the men are doing such big stuff with the tattoo guns, and we still have not got past a sharpened staple because women snitch on each other so much that if anybody had an automatic tattoo gun, another tattoo artist would snitch on them because you're doing tattoo work better than me now. And so you use a sharpened staple, you sharpen it with a nail file, you file down a bunch of pencil lead. And I was in the masonry class, and I found out that carpenter pencil makes the darkest ink, so I started stealing carpenter pencils. And then a little bit of clear shampoo, a little bit of water, mix it up, and stab yourself multiple times.
It hurts.
Absolutely.
And what about for aftercare or anything? Is there any of that?
Pray. Just pray.
And what's the best design you could even possibly do with that?
Anything you can draw. Anything you can draw, you can make happen. I did,
Do you have one on you?
I've done a bunch. I did this whole side piece of my arm with a staple on my bed just sitting there. It looks like shit. I know.
No, it doesn't look as bad as I would expect it to.
Oh, there's some horrible ones on me if you look hard enough. I just won't let you. But yeah, I did this on my foot also with a staple.
And how much would that go for when you're charging someone? Like the one on your arm.
The one on my arm would probably be like $20.
And they're paying that in ramen noodles?
Ramen noodles and chips and coffee and mackerel. Yeah. That was how I got all my food for the last part until COVID hit. Then I got stimulus checks.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was able to use the stimulus checks for food all the way up to the door when I got out.
Were you still struggling with addiction in prison?
I was struggling with addiction for, I want to say, probably about a year or two out of my whole sentence. Max altogether incarcerated. If you totaled it all up, it'd probably be closer to 3 years. But like consecutively, it was 2 years that I was just every day on Suboxone because that's what you could get into prison. I had some friends who were into Xanax and stuff, but I was never a downers. So Suboxone in and of itself was terrible for me, but it was the only substance I was allowed. So
How'd you finally get clean?
I just quit. I just got tired of it. I got so sick of it because I realized I had taken the year in county to get sober off of the crack, the coke, the molly, the meth. I was on everything in the free world. So I took the year in county to get off of all those drugs just to get right back on a different kind of drug in prison. And I did it. I remember I was sitting in classifications, I think, because I was getting ready to like start talking about what I was doing in the next couple years for going home. And I had just cuts all up my arm because I was self-harming because I was depressed. And I had the worst aftertaste in my mouth. Because if you have no idea what Suboxone is, it's like supposed to be an opium blocker. So you're supposed to take it if you're like trying to get off of heroin. It tastes like citrus orange, and it's for your veins. So I had to put it under my tongue, and I would just taste orange citrus. And I'm sitting there in classifications. I'm holding a folder so that they can't see my arms all cut up. And I'm just looking at the cuts on my arm, and I'm tasting this citrus aftertaste in my mouth. And I was like, wow, I really haven't done anything for myself. And I'm sitting in classifications getting ready to go home. And I haven't yet figured myself out enough to be able to go home and not promise myself that I'm not going to get on drugs. So it was then that I was like, well, I guess I got to figure it the fuck out. So I stopped doing drugs.
What were you thinking about in the future when you were in prison? Like when you're getting to your final months there, what are you thinking?
I was thinking about this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to get out, and I grew up, which is something I wanted to call you out on actually for your interview. You said growing up, we didn't have influencers. Yes, we did.
Not prison ones.
Not prison ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, we had influencers. I heard you say we didn't have influencers growing up, and I was like, he wasn't on MySpace because Tila Tequila was popping, so.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of that. And I guess we had like travel ones, but that was about it, you know?
I mean,
we
had like, obviously a lot of our YouTubers are bad people now, but like we had a lot of.
I was never into YouTube, that's why.
Really?
Never. I would watch, like, my good friend Steven, we would watch videos of, like, fireworks, things getting blown up, or how to, like, if you need to know how to make something, I'd go to YouTube. But that's why I started YouTube last when I started building my platforms. I was intimidated by it. I mean, honestly,
it is intimidating.
If you go and make a YouTube channel and you're looking at a blank page, it's just a lot.
That's how I feel about shorts, too.
Yeah,
YouTube shorts. TikTok shorts is easy because TikTok is just shorts.
But there's so much that goes into it. You have your title. You have your thumbnail, you have your back end stuff, you have your description. Like, there's an art to it.
Yeah.
You're putting together a whole package.
And I think people are so, not to get off topic, but I think people are so obsessed with the influencer idea that they don't realize how much work goes into it. So when they get into it, they're like, this is actually kind of hard. I think I might not do this.
It is hard. Yeah, there's just so many little things.
And you wouldn't think of it. Yeah. But that was all I thought about. I sat on my bed and I said, like, when I go home, the realization that I'm a felon now, and not just like a regular felon, I'm a Disney felon, which I feel like that's not even, it's the worst. You don't know until you have to explain, because any interview you go to, so what is your crime? To the best of your ability, whatever you're comfortable sharing. And I have to be like, burglary against Disney hotels. And then they're like, Disney? It's like, yeah, thumbnail, trigger word, boom, right there. And then I have to explain. I have to be embarrassed because that is kind of embarrassing to admit that you committed a crime. But to admit that you committed a crime at the happiest place on earth, I feel like adds an extra layer. So.
Are you banned from Disney?
For life.
So if you have kids and they want to go to Disney, that's out of the picture?
I've always said they had to go with their father. I'd be home with some wine. That's what I've always said. Because people in jail, they'd be like, what about if your kids one day want to go to Disney? I'd be like, they can go. I can get drunk at home and watch it on TV. I don't care.
Now, that's Disney World. Can you go to Disneyland?
I don't think I can go to any Disney because someone said Disney Tokyo was owned by somebody completely different. Maybe I'll go there.
So have you tested the theory of, like, what happens if you, like, do they have facial recognition? Like
they do.
Like a casino?
They have facial recognition at Disney. I don't know about in a casino, but I know at Disney they do, because when I got arrested, that's what got me TikTok viral, was I made a joke about my arrest night. They took a picture of my face and they said, we need a picture of you for the facial recognition so that if you ever come back, we can arrest you at the gate. And I looked and I was like, okay. And then I smiled. And he was like, it's always nice to see somebody getting happy to get arrested. And I was like, well, I'm at the happiest place on earth. And then he was like, wow, you're really going to make jokes. So I made a joke about that on TikTok to like a Bo Burnham song. And it went crazy viral. I got like 200,000 views. And I earned 150,000 followers overnight. So
what happens when you get out of prison? Where do you go? Do you stay in Florida or do you go back?
they put me on a bus to New Jersey. I went to go live with my mother, and I was able to do that for 2 years. And then I started ripping my hair out, so I decided to move out instead of being bald. And then I shaved my head anyway, so I was bald.
How was that relationship with your mother after those years?
The same. My mom's like a rock in the sense that she would never change. It would take massive amounts of water and years of erosion. So she was pretty much the exact same person to the degree that I had to sit her down and I had to be like, hey, so the last time we saw each other, I was 17. I'm 25 now. Stop giving me a curfew. And she was like, you're right. I do still see you as my 16-year-old daughter. And I was like, yeah, stop. Because I'm grown as fuck. I'm getting drunk in your bedroom every night. This is insane. So.
Did you feel like you guys ever had to have closure or ever get to have closure from your childhood?
No. I've discovered that the closure I get from my mother is not needing the closure anymore. I know who she was and why she was that way. I know that we're never going to have a good relationship, and I'm just doing what I got to do for my cultural obligations. Other than that, I ain't got nothing to do with her when she's gone.
Now, as someone that was like a manager in retail, I know how hard it is for people to get jobs really anywhere when they have like a larceny type of charge on it.
Call it larceny.
But that's what they flag it in the...
Okay, but that's white collar. That's your level. You call it thievery.
Thievery. All right. Any same thing. Well, what's funny about mine is like mine doesn't really affect background checks. Like
really?
I think it's because it's federal too. Most tests for state. But if you compare mine to a shoplifting charge, they'll hire me before they hire the shoplifter.
That makes no sense.
Hey, it benefited me, but
okay.
I just think the way it's categorized, so that needs to be changed in the system.
They do need to change that because you're quite literally the smarter version of my crime. Like, you know how to get into the system and do it. I had to do it on foot.
Mine wasn't really intentional though, but it was the whole thing was kind of like
No, I know. I remember. I think you said you just didn't say something.
It had more to do with lying. You know, if I didn't lie and I was just honest with people, it could all have been avoided.
Yeah.
But I'm paying all the money back. So, anyways, how difficult was it for you to find work when you got out?
I actually was able to get a job my first week.
Oh, excuse me.
Excuse me, you can get a job 20 times faster than me.
No, I got declined to like 100 places, like when I first started looking for jobs.
Okay, so I got a job my first week out of prison, and you got famous your first year on the internet. We're even. We'll call it level. Beyond that, no, yeah, I was actually lucky enough to have a friend who contacted her mother, and I was grateful even then, and I'm still grateful now looking back on it because we're not friends anymore. She doesn't talk to me, but she didn't like her mom either, so she was like, I'll suck it up and talk to my mother to get you a job. And I was like, thank you. And then she got me a job. I stayed at that job for 3 years. I did my social media stuff in the background, and then I got fired. And then I just kind of committed to social media full time because I had nothing else.
Did you get fired because of social media?
No, I got fired because my boss was homophobic and I called the police. But I didn't call the police because I wanted him to get arrested. I called the police because I didn't want him to fire me for being gay. So I was like, I just need to put a report in. I don't want anything to come of this. And then he got mad because he found out and he called me into his office and he was like, you reported me for homophobia? And I was like, no. I simply said what you said, which was that you didn't want any gay t-shirts at your job. And if people couldn't stop wearing gay t-shirts, then they couldn't wear any logos at all. And he was like, just because I don't like logos doesn't mean I'm homophobic. And I was like, it's not the logos. It's the fact that it's rainbow and you get upset. And that was all dumb. But he ended up firing me like shortly after that because he started retaliating in ways that I couldn't call retaliation. And then one day the chef got mad at me and told him that I yelled at him because I did. And he was like, you're cussing at my chef. And then he tried to say that I was doing something. And I was like, I don't appreciate the implications you're making. And he was like, I don't know what you're saying. And I was like, I figured. Was it too many syllables for you? And then he was like, you're fired. And I was like, oh, sorry. Didn't mean to call you dumb.
Tell us about social media.
Social media was intimidating for me, and it raised me, and I'm grateful for it. I came out of prison a completely different version of myself. I didn't get to experience the Black Lives Movement. I didn't get to experience COVID. I didn't get to experience the election. I didn't get to experience anything, you know? So a lot of the major movements that were happening in the world while I was locked up, I got to hear about them, but I didn't see the impact it made on the world till I got here. And then I got here, and I was the worst person you ever met. Like, I didn't care about anything. I had no empathy, no sympathy, because I just got out of prison. I just got out of dog eat dog, and now you want me to care? You want me to care? I'm not going to care. But I learned. I mean, I got on TikTok. I started making videos, and there were so many videos where people were like, bad take, Nina. This was stupid, Nina. Absolutely not, Nina. And then I was like, maybe I should educate myself. And I started Googling stuff, and then I realized, like, everything that I needed to learn for a reason. Prison is a purposely very put down kind of place. And in that environment, a lot of negativity lives and thrives. So I learned how to be more sensitive, and I learned how to be more caring of people's opinions. And I learned just in general how to think outside of the box that I put myself in.
Do you think you've been able to address the bullying from your childhood? Because I'm sure that carries over now in social media, especially with comments. It's probably even worse now.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely learned my lesson, actually, because one of my high school bullies' little brother humbled me because he mentioned, like, he asked me if I knew his sister. But I didn't know that was his sister when he asked me. So he just said her name. And I insulted her immediately. Like, the first thing I did was throw an insult at him. And he was like, that's my fucking sister. And I was like, oh, my bad. And then I thought about it, and I realized I just gave somebody's little brother an insult without even trying to figure out who this woman was in this day and age over something that happened when we were teenagers. And then I came back to him, and I was like, that was immature as fuck of me. I'm so sorry. And I was like, I know you probably told your sister I said that, so, like, actually tell her I'm sorry as well. And I'd be happy to tell her I'm sorry. And he was like, I did tell her. She didn't care. But then, like, other people tweeted about me because I live in a small town growing up. So when they heard that I was talking about somebody, like, there was tweets about me being an inmate and I was a fucking loser, still holding on to high school grudges. But they were right. Like, they were right. I came out of prison still holding on to high school grudges. Like, that was childish. So I really had to assess myself, and I had to realize that the reason I was holding on to those dramas and pains and grudges was because I felt some type of way about something that happened years ago that did not affect me even in the slightest today.
What type of content do you do on social media?
Comedy. I do a lot of jokes about prison. I have, on my Instagram, I like to post pictures of my life. On my YouTube, I like to make everyday videos of my life. But because my TikTok is where it all started, my TikTok is where I keep all of my center focus on prison, what it was like, how it feels coming out, and I just want to educate people while making them laugh.
Are you able to make money from it?
Yeah, now. I make a good amount every month. Sometimes it's less than more times, but it's still fun.
And you're able to live off of that?
I'm able to live off of it, yeah. I have a lot of help from my family as well, like the family that I live with out here, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest lesson you learned from your childhood to going to prison and then everything you've learned since?
I think I actually learned that it's a quote that I learned in high school, and I kind of never forgot about it, but I didn't actually apply it to my life till I went to jail. And it was that all freedoms can be taken from a man except for the freedom to choose one's own attitude towards what's going on. So it's basically, I learned over the years that everything can happen to me, and everything probably will, but the only thing that I can control is how I feel while it's happening. And sometimes that's the best control to have in the situation.
Do you think that you're at peace with your past decisions?
No, but yes. Like, yes, in the sense that I feel like it has taught me who I needed to be, and I don't regret going through it. But no, in the sense that I feel like I still have a lot of penance to pay. I have a lot of regret to give myself now that I didn't give myself then. Because when you're young, you think, oh, yeah, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Who cares? I'm invincible. And I think I had a lot of moments when I was younger where I said things out loud that now I wouldn't want to hear myself say. So knowing that I said them, even if nobody was there to hear it, I still have that inside of myself to kind of piece together and decide how I want to forgive myself for those things.
What would you tell 13-year-old Nina if you could sit across from her today?
Do not buy cigarettes from the corner store and then tell your mom because she's going to get them shut down. But other than that, I think I would tell myself that it's going to be okay because I wouldn't want to warn myself. I wouldn't want to change it. I wouldn't want to go back and stop myself from going to prison because then I wouldn't have a story to tell you today. And I wouldn't want to go back and stop myself from being with my groomer because I would never went to prison. Does it suck? Yeah. Do I have crazy stories because of it? Absolutely. But at the same time, someone's going to look at my pain and realize that I'm still happy after it, and maybe it'll help them make it through their pain.
Do you think someone like him is a changed person now?
No, absolutely not. His wife doesn't even know that he contacted me out of prison, and that was years ago. He blocks me and unblocks me whenever she finds my page on his page again.
It's kind of crazy to hear that he's married, and she probably has no idea of what he did in the past.
I've thought about messaging her, but I've also thought to myself that messaging her isn't going to change anything for how she feels about him. And if it's meant for her to find out the type of man he is, maybe she'll see this episode, I guess. I don't know. I can't be the universe anymore. I used to try to do stuff like that to get back at people and like hurt people. Like, oh, if I can't be happy with you, then you can never be happy again, you know? But I gained nothing from that, so.
Do you feel like you want to get closure with him?
No, I haven't. He did what he did to me because he had nobody else to do it to. He had his own issues. He had his own traumas. And all I can hope is that I was able to prevent somebody else from going through it that wouldn't have been able to make it. And I think I feel that way more because after we broke up, he started dating somebody that I considered a friend, and she passed away because he got her into drugs and prostitution just the same. And she overdosed. And he left her. Like, she overdosed in an alleyway. He was the last person to see her alive, and he left her in that alleyway. And all I think about is that, and I think, damn, if I had just stayed with him, he probably would have never met her. But if I had stayed with him, I would have been in the alleyway. So.
Nina, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you did so great.
Thanks.
How do you feel?
Anxious.
Was it what you expected?
No and yes. I expected you to talk more.
I barely talk in my interviews.
I know. I was hoping
You actually got more
out
of me than most people.
Really?
The audience wants to hear the guest.
Yeah, but I'm curious, you know?
Well, it's a guest-oriented show, and you did great.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.